Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal Dwan and I don't really have a tagline yet for what exactly I do, but I guess if I were to make one, it would be I talk a lot about the Jungian functions and personality type, and I'm trying to take this channel to the next level in 2020 and talk also about spirituality and social justice and various other phenomena. But for now, I will continue my trajectory as your friendly ENFP YouTube personality. I think of myself more as like a sidekick to my best friend Megan Lavoda, who is an ENFJ, and you might have seen me on her podcast, Synchronic Saturdays, but today I figured I'd make a video, and I'm gonna style it as a mukbang. Okay, but confession. So I had the intention to make this video tonight after cooking a meal, but I ended up eating most of it before I even started. So disclaimer, I only have a few bites left of these Shanghai rice cakes I made, but I figured you can still get a lot done in a few minutes with these Shanghai rice cakes as my prop. I also have some Stella berry wine. Um, yeah. Truth be told, I really don't enjoy the spotlight, even though when it's on me and I feel comfortable, it's like really great. I just don't like the grunt work of like working myself into like getting up there and just saying something. Um, Most of the time when I'm on camera, like on YouTube, it's been with Megan on her channel, talking about insights that we've both had, and I'm really comfortable with her and being very candid. So truth be told, I'm still not used to like making these videos or like, I mean, understanding that there's people that would even want to like learn about being an ENFP. I feel like we're such an overrated species. But the other day, my friend Michelle Wilson approached me about being on her channel. She's also an ENFP, and she had a video of 5 of us talking about, I guess, what it's like to be quarantined right now, because that's what's going on here in America, I mean, and all over the world. And I just went off on a few tangents, and then people were like, well, where's your channel? You should like be talking more about your insights. And I was like, haven't done that since 2018, but what better time to start now than when I have nothing to do? So yeah. Anyways, today I want to talk about extroverted feeling and kind of recent thoughts I've been having about this. So probably be multiple videos because I just have had a lot of new insights about it. And yeah, so first of all, I want to tell you guys something really candid about myself. I used to be really, really afraid of cooking up until even like a month ago before this quarantine. Like, cooking would bring up all these feelings of inadequacy inside of me because I had like a lot of childhood trauma from my mom as an ISFJ unintentionally shaming me for being very not naturally good at it. Like, I mean, it was just like kind of a burden because I felt like I was never going to be a good enough daughter because I just wasn't that quick with TI in terms of getting things, even though I know that like not having TE can also have its drawbacks now. But I just had a lot of internalizations about this. And then recently I met actually a really close new ENFJ friend. Shout out to Katie if you're watching this. She legitimately loves cooking. She loves doing it for other people. She loves doing it for herself. She just had such contagious joy about it. And I've been told that I have the same effect on people as an ENFP at times, that like me nerding out about something can make you feel inspired. But she legitimately like helped me like that specific thing I had such trauma around, to where I felt safe doing it because I felt like I could just ask her all these like questions I felt not allowed to ask my mom about cooking, and she would answer them to the best of her ability. And I stood with her so many times because we like met in January, but we've been hanging out a lot. I would stand behind her watching how she did things and just watching the smile on her face, and I would feel inspired to be able to do that too. And also because she'd be so patient and loving with me, and through I guess the power of being around her, I'm now cooking these pretty sophisticated like Asian dishes. So these are Shanghai rice cakes. It's at this pretty popular West Coast restaurant called Din Tai Fung. Um, it's like a Taiwanese sort of like dish, like the sauces. It's like really, it's like rice cakes. I added some green beans, and I also added some Chinese sausage. And the kicker is that there was like sauce. I stirred myself, and okay, like basically what happened was I watched a YouTube video of honeysuckle making Shanghai rice cakes, and I subbed in the Chinese sausage, and I like mimicked how she made the sauce. Katie has also taken me shopping a few times, so like I have this whole like array of different sauces that are kind of my staples. And she just kind of taught me how to like build a meal, like how to sub things in and how to just find the rhythm. And so I'm really grateful for that. And today I actually wanted to talk about how being an ENFJ can actually really benefit you. You don't already have that presence in your life. So first of all, I'm really targeting this video toward the people who are not FJs, who may think that FE is really whiny and FE is just kind of in need of being coddled and not independent enough and all these things. I want to say that in a lot of ways, people don't really understand FE because oftentimes whenever FE wants to like say learn about others in a lot of these personality forums, it's only when there's an actual conflict. And so I feel like we only really see FE under stress when maybe they have a lot of like unprocessed FI or TI and these FJs are coming to the forums for advice. And it seems like they're just here to like bitch and be petty and gossip, which can often be the case because after all, we don't always have the healthiest relationships with people, and like those people can be on the internet, like whatever. But at the same time, I feel like we fail to realize that FE, when healthy and at its best, is very good at motivating other people. I remember like I forgot, was it Megan's like sister who was surprised that like people on the internet here in these forums hate on ESFJs because she was like, I feel like in real life everyone like loves me, and I guess to that like I want to say that sometimes the things that we bitch about with FE are only partially accurate because I think we underestimate how little emotional support they actually need from us, because it's not that they like don't, they're so helpless just because they don't have TE. They have the TI to back up how they feel very principled about how they live things. And so Katie, with her principles, has just found that the best way to connect with people in a lot of ways is to like do it through cooking, which is a very indirect way to connect with someone. Like FI, I think, sometimes relies on like having words of affirmation, deep conversations where you're actually sharing life with someone and like really verbally being explicit about how that goes down. And I think FE understands the principle of spending time making memories together through actions, through like experiences, also builds a bond that's very unspoken and very intangible. And I think that we underestimate how much processing that their TI goes through as they go through life. I feel like one thing I've noticed is that when FE wants something from you, it doesn't directly ask because it actually doesn't directly expect. But if it directly asks, then it directly expects. But usually, if you can catch them before they voice that direct expectation and be curious, but also open to not having to feel obligated, I think that's actually something very powerful. God, there's like so many facets to this, and I could write like a whole book, and I probably will write a whole book about how FE and FI miscommunicate all the time, which leads me to want to drink. I think the main thing is that FI users don't realize how our TE obligates us into being a slave to other people's thoughts, just as how FE doesn't realize like how much it's burdened by other people's emotions because it doesn't know how to like independently feel. I think TE forgets how it doesn't know how to independently think very well. So basically, when an FE user is in distress, we will be in distress with them, but we won't say like the things that feel kind of maybe too empty in a lot of ways. Like, for example, if you have like an FE user loved one who's panicking during the quarantine, say, oh wow, you like must feel so sad right now, and like verbalizing things that they actually maybe haven't said yet about their emotions that feel obvious to you and like you're coddling them, that actually is being able to like, you kind of have to almost look at it as these people are genuinely not able to sometimes process emotions in the way that you do independently. They genuinely need to be told maybe what they might be feeling. And maybe it feels presumptuous and kind of dumb to firsthand say so. But I think that something about FI users that confuses FE is how unsympathetic we can be, because we're like, why can't you just grow up and take care of it yourself with lots of emotions? But I feel like, on the other hand, we don't realize the independence of our thoughts is that we have things figured out that other people don't. And it might feel condescending to like act as if those people don't know those things, but they genuinely don't. and you will never teach them how to deal with their emotions unless you're willing to step up. It reminds me of like if the FE user is all sad and they're a little kid, you wouldn't tell the kid to just suck it up and get over it. You would like maybe talk what it feels like talking down to them, but actually it's your TI engaging with the person's genuine cluelessness, perhaps. So I don't think you should literally be condescending because I feel like condescension happens when someone thinks that you should know more than you do and is like trying to dignify this pretend reality that you don't. But I think when you genuinely empathize with someone being clueless and aren't like shaming them for it subconsciously, then you can actually comfort and get through to an FE user. Um, because certainly I didn't feel shamed for not knowing how to cook with this ENFJ best friend of mine. So, of course, why would you shame someone for not being able to deal with their emotions in the way that you do all the time? In fact, owning that reality almost can make you more able to get through to them and help them come to a new insight about themselves that maybe you can't. So, I'm talking about this actually because, like, this was brought up kind of in the ENFP live stream that I did with Michelle and her friends because Mary, one of the ENFPs in there, was like kind of musing about what FE users are looking for comfort. And I'm just very passionate about kind of really letting people who are FI users especially know that FE users are very fucking useful in certain instances like that we don't give them credit for, and we're more useful than we may know with helping them. And I think that whenever I get upset or triggered that someone is using TI to criticize me, I've always assumed that they were judging me more than they were, as opposed to they are drowning in their own confusion, as opposed to telling me to change something. You can ask me more questions in the comments, I guess, if you don't know what that means, because I'm starting to get kind of drunk. But yeah, like in the last 3 months, I would say, I have made one INFJ, three ENFJ, no, no, one INFJ good friend, three new ENFJ friends, one new INFJ boss, and this is in addition to my ENFJ best friend Megan, her ENFJ business partner friend Brenna, who I also got to know, and my INFJ best friend Evelyn, who moved recently back to San Jose. So basically, more or less, I just have a ton of NFJ energy in my life right now. And my sister is also an ESFJ, and my mom's an ISFJ. So between like maybe in the span of like a week or two, I'll interact with up to 10 like FJs. And it's really fascinating because I think that like they just have this very independent way of operating that if you don't know what you're looking for to ask for, you're not going to understand because FJs will never talk very publicly and brag a lot on what they are confident in because they just want it to like be obvious and not need to point it out. But I think that FJs are very good at like kind of understanding their principles. I've talked about this in the ENFJ love letter, but their principles that just lead them to ask a lot of questions, and when they're checking in thinking about other people, they know how to integrate that into like a general way of understanding how people work that people who aren't FJs just don't seem to understand. Like an FJ really understands how people work, like, and I think FI thinks it knows how people work, but I think that we more so understand the system that people operate under as opposed to how that individual works. um, Before I knew type, I certainly didn't understand a lot of things about like FE that I do now, and I didn't understand how different FE is from how I operate. Like most of the time, when FE users are going through the motions, and you're like, oh my god, like their FI is so bad, their TI is so good, and they're noticing how bad your TI is. I think that they live life with the conviction of it has to be lived this certain way. And I don't think they necessarily impose that on other people as much as we think they do. It's more so they want the other person to counteract and defend their way of life. So, like, when someone's been like, why are you doing things that way? I've learned to, like, take a step back and realize that they genuinely just don't know because I haven't said my philosophy on why I hang on to boys longer than they do or why I believe in calling people out. And until I give all the context under which I came to this convicted way of living, which I don't always hold well to, but I still try, it won't even be worth considering for them. So I think that FI underestimates how when we are asked a question is very confrontational sounding, it's because we haven't given the information as to why it makes sense to us to live that way. Because me, under all my experiences, I operate and do things a certain way. And I think FI kind of leaves room for, oh, like your past emotions and experiences, you're just like that. But I think that this idea of like giving verbiage to how that's been useful in application and how I skirt certain problems that FJs don't, I think it's actually led to like them respecting me more, because then they respect that, oh, that is a way that people literally live their lives. Um, so yeah, and this is just kind of a rant where I'm just talking a lot about like all this unprocessed like curiosity I have, because a lot of the FJs in my life are like kind of looking to me as someone who generates a lot of ideas and has a lot of good emotional boundaries. And it wasn't until I got to know type and got to have these conversations with people that I didn't even know like my own value in that sense. Um, I'm genuinely pretty, and I guess as I make more videos, you'll learn more about like how I operate when I'm not just theorizing. But I guess I'm genuinely pretty good at like saying no to a lot of things that FE doesn't. But I think that the obligation and responsibility that FE has towards other people is actually very noble. And I know that when I say no, instead of just like being like, I'm going to validate my emotions, as FI very simply states its reasoning, I have all these intricate understandings of how society benefits more when people say no, because it gives them more energy to say yes. And I'm trying to kind of preach more about that as opposed to just let my life speak for itself, because I think that's how FI can kind of like drop the ball on taking the responsibility to convey how to live this way to people. Um, and I think that FE explaining what it's learned as its life lessons can sometimes be overly simplistic, but the drive to do that and the way that it ends up being so genuinely sweet and helpful and beneficial is something that I think we can all learn from. Yeah, I basically am too drunk to continue now, so I'm gonna stop this video for now. But if you made it this far somehow, what I wanted to say was that I'm going to be unstructuredly trying to just spontaneously make more videos. I'm also going to be featuring more content on Megan's channel, not necessarily mukbang style, but more so debunking common misconceptions. But for now, I'm just going to be having fun with just putting myself out there, and you might see some other content that's more slice of life than just very specific to functions. And either way, I hope you guys join me on my journey, and thank you for watching if you somehow made it this far.